So first of all, I would like to say thank you to everybody for supporting the project. For me, it was really a surprise with the Kickstarter because, well, it's the third Kickstarter I'm doing for FretLab. And to be honest, the last three Kickstarters have always been a battle, to get people involved and to get people to know about the project because, well, here there's not so much of communication done, so mostly I do the videos and the marketing by myself, and this is when I find time after engineering or production things, and so I can't dedicate it so much to have this sorted. So thank you so much. There's still like 13 days going, so I know that usually in a Kickstarter, in the middle period, nothing much happen unless you are like getting people involved more with more audio examples, more videos, and this is the thing I will be working on. I am well aware that right now there's a little bit of lack of audio content, and I will do my best to like try to provide some more. The reality behind this is it's not that easy because what you see here is like the current prototypes, the one I work with on my desk. You can see like it's not even closed. I didn't put the bottom. Of course, I have the bottom here. I mean, here's the complete machine. Well, one of the prototypes here. What I want to say is like the sound engine is like evolving every day. So I'm adding some features, I'm testing stuff, and of course like the preset format is changing. There are some incompatibility from version to version because it's not yet stabilized. So it's very difficult to give a machine to some people so that they can prepare sounds and then can alter it because things gonna change. And when this part of the software will be stabilized, I can for good say to the sound designer, please start to do presets, but until then, everything is more or less temporary. So in this situation, it's very difficult to produce something which is very refined and representative of the sound of the machine. So that's the reason why there's not so many presets or example right now to be heard. Um, uh, yeah, so what I will try about the updates is when the Kickstarter campaign is sorted out, that there's no some stress with organization and so. What I will do is like I will periodically update about what I'm doing on the software. So I already do it on Instagram and Facebook because it's very easy to do. So I can just take my smartphone, like film around and say, okay, today I've been working on this feature, I've had this functionality, and that's very direct. But when I do the communication on Kickstarter, I have to prepare an update, I have to prepare a proper text and maybe put some pictures, and so it's much more involved than like taking 10 minutes to do a video of what's happening. But I'm completely aware that plenty of people don't want to be on these platforms, and for good reasons. So I'll try to find a solution to keep you involved in the development, but that it doesn't take me like 2 hours or 1 hour a day to prepare like update and stuff, because otherwise it will eat too much of my time. Well, let's have a look at the machine. So, I'll zoom a bit so you can see. So what I can explain so far, so I will make like a tutorial on how to use this thing. It has different sections. So you can see the top left is the envelope section. The bottom left is the sources. On the right you will find a filter. Maybe I'll move myself so you see better. I guess it will be okay. And on the top you have some kind of mixing section. So in the center you have the display. You can immediately see the 4 parts here. So you can toggle from one part to another simply by clicking on the part button. And in the bottom here, you have what I call the macro pods, meaning they are used for whatever is displayed. So if you have any parameter on the display, you can edit it directly with these knobs. So before you ask, all the knobs are potentiometers, but there's a catch. You can actually program them in different modes. So I distinguish potentiometers which have a dedicated assignment, so the one which you find into the sections, and the macropods. These potentiometers, you can assign them to be directly jump, so it means you turn it and you get the exact value. Catch means that you have to reach the value until a change is made, or offset, meaning that you move the value relative to the position. And this you can set independently from the macro pod. So for example, you can say all the direct access pods, they are jump, and the macro pod are offset, which can be a good way to edit so that you don't jump when you get with the macro pods, and it works more or less like than an encoder in this situation. So let's go back to the start. So I will load like a default thing, because anyway this machine is empty because it was finished today. So by default, you see like the preset, there's nothing here. So the question is, do you hear much here? I'm not too sure. Is this loud enough? I mean, I can see the levels like spit. I wanted to put too much gain because I'm afraid that it saturates, but we'll see. So, can you hear the sound? Is it loud enough? Or should I put it louder? Oh, there's so much delay in the chat. That's crazy. Hi, Quentin. The synth sounds less clear than your voice. I don't know about the setting right now. I'm recording through a Scarlett sound interface. It's not the best, but I guess it won't make much a difference. Okay, so I will demonstrate a little bit the structure of a patch. So right now we have just the spectrum oscillator, and it's configured to be like just a simple wave. So we'll go through and I will stop talking. So how does it work? You have predefined spectrum. So right now they are temporary. I will change them and I will provide a good enough set of spectrum. The spectrum can be also programmed and edited from the machine. If there's an editor after, well, you will be able to like download them. They have 8 harmonics, so it's not like very complicated configuration. So these spectrums, so right now this sounds like more like an organ because there's no variation. You can use different waveform to render them. So I show you. From this, you can alterate the harmonics, and you have different tools for this. So you have first the form and control. which actually moves the harmonics around. You can put a little bit of reverb. So, I mean, not gonna be totally the raw sound, but at least you will get to hear the reverb from the machine. So this is also like not a final model, but well, it works for now. So I hope it works. Put myself a little bit louder because I don't hear it. So this is the form and control. So it moves the packets of harmonics from right to left on the spectrum. So basically you can concentrate the harmonics on the low frequency or the high frequency. You can also rotate. So we have too much reverb now. I'll put it a bit down. Yeah, that would be okay. Come back here. Put a little bit of a release. And you have another tool which is called inversion. So basically it makes the complementary spectrum. So it means like if you have harmonics in the lower frequencies and nothing in the high, it makes the invert. So you can listen to this. So these are basically the tools you can use to manipulate the spectrum. So there will be probably additional one, but for now we'll start with that because it offers a lot of possibilities already, because you have to accumulate that with the other tools that you have for manipulate the sound. So maybe it's not important to get too complicated there. So of course these parameters can be modulated, and we're gonna get there. But before that, I will show you something. Is in addition to this spectrum-based oscillator, you have a sub-oscillator. So basically the line at the top controls the spectrum oscillator. How do you get access to additional parameters? It's easy. You can click to whatever button that corresponds to a section to jump to the page related to this. Every time you turn a potentiometer on a section, well, it updates immediately the value. And if you want to access the additional parameters which are not on the display, you can always use this page up and page down button. So there are not too many sub-pages, there are some, but you can see here, like for now, this page you have it direct access, and you have a separate level for now which is living on its own, but that's it. So sub-oscillator. Sub-oscillator, so I will change the balance now. And now I'm fully on the sub-oscillator. I will remove like the release. And maybe not too much reverb. This should be like quite dry. So this is like basic sawtooth. So you have the different algorithms there. So you can choose like sawtooth, square wave, sinus, waveform, nothing, and back to sinus. And every of these waveforms, they actually have additional modes and additional specificities. So for example, if you play the sinus sub-oscillator, so this is basically a sinus, but you can also like control the amount of FM. You can set the influence of the LFO too. But in our case, better to use the envelope if we really want to use FM. So here, for example, you have an additional parameter, which is the ratio. So you have a different character of the FM. And here we can use like the filter envelope on it. Here you can hear like the classic FM Yamaha style. So you can hear it's very clear. Works very well with a delay. You can put a little bit of delay. Wait for it. Build up sequences with this. I'm looking at your question on the chat. Rookie at home, what do you mean by is rotary modulatable? Okay, well, we will go to modulation after. Most of the parameters of the synth are modulatable. Yeah. I just make a tour right now of the sub-oscillator. So you've seen like the sinus has like FM mode, so two operator linear, basically sinus modulated by sinus, but you can do a lot with that already. Like you can make very deep basses or like bells and stuff. Then I go to the next one, sawtooth. So I will remove my delay also, we don't need that. So this is like basic VA sawtooth, but you have a control that allows you to have like a second sawtooth on top. You can then make like effects that sounds a bit like super saw. I can program the LFO2 to control this parameter. So let's go to the LFO2 and let's put like a sinus waveform. This is kind of extreme. Let's do it a bit more subtle. Wait. Yes. And now we can put a little bit of filtering. saturates. That was what I was afraid of. So I have to put it on, guys. So two sawtooths modulated, and of course this is just the sub-oscillator. You can anytime add the spectrum oscillator on top. And we can detune this also. To have like a very full sound. So let's go back to the sub-oscillator. I open the filter again. The next mode is like square wave. So this is a pulse. So you still have this LFO modulation. So here you set like the pulse width. So I can put it in like middle, it's like square wave, or like to the minimum, so it's nearly not audible anymore. So I'll put it here. And of course you can do the same modulation with LFO2. Classic stuff. Next algorithm is wave. So right now there is no waves in the machine, so I can't demonstrate you this. Will come a bit later, but this is like very small waveforms, so don't expect samples because this machine is mainly a synthesis machine, but you will be able to like select, like for example in the old virus or the Node lead, some predefined waveforms, and maybe I will find a way so people can upload more because there's the memory for this, so it should not be a problem. What will be as an additional control on this, I'm not sure yet. Maybe will be sync or window or whatsoever, in a sense trying to make something interesting and moving out of fixed waveforms, but I'm not decided yet. So these are, how it's called, like research's path, things I have not explored yet. So let's go back to, let's say, sawtooth. Yeah. So we have seen like the spectrum oscillator, basically the sub-oscillator with the different modes. The balance control is just a mix, so if you put it completely to the right, you have just the sound of the generator, which is the spectrum oscillator. I call it generator, so to make the difference between the sub-oscillator. And when you put it completely to the left, then you have the sub-oscillator. So let's put it back to generator. So let's have something simple like this. What I wanted to show you is you can have different play modes. So you can play in poly. So poly is like has many voices as you can allocate. So in terms of voice allocation, you have a system that a bit like the older Yamahas, where you can say, okay, I want to reserve this amount of voices for this part, or there's a pool mode where it takes whatever voices which are available. I'm not decided about what to do with the voice stealing because there are different ways to do it. Probably I will do voice stealing when you are in pool mode and not when you are in reserved mode. I'll find the best compromise for this. It's not easy. I have to check out with like how it works when you play different tracks from the DAW and so on. What people expect out of this. So poly, you can have like mono unison, legato unison, poly unison, or mono or legato. So let's just go now for like the poly unison. So you immediately hear this chorus effect. So the wow control, like how stereo is the effect, and the detune is for like how many cents there are in between the voices. So when you toggle to unison, you use basically two voices. And before you ask, this machine on my desk is having half of the polyphony, because for the full polyphony to work, this needs to be installed. That's the daughter board with the second DSP. So for the story at the beginning, I thought I will make two versions of the Manatee, one with like a basic one with 12 voices of polyphony, one with 24, and just install this different. But as the algorithm have developed and so, I was getting less and less voices. So then I said to myself, no, there will be only one version of the Manatee, and it will be with like the board pre-installed. I'm not running the machine with that now because there was a modification to the design, to the housing design, that makes it physically not possible to insert it directly like this. So you see on my prototype I have like a connector which is like connected to like the former footprint. And in the next week I will run another iteration of this that actually fits the mounting holes, so that I can bring back the full polyphony. So basically that's a second DSP, second memory, and you run double the voices with this. So, but this, everybody will get it pre-installed in their machine, so there won't be two versions. So, back to the machine. So I'm just reading a bit the chat. Thank you, Marco. How many oscillators per voice? So there are two oscillators, but the oscillators are complex. So with like the Spectral oscillator, if you are using like 8 bands and you're using a sawtooth, it's like having 8 sawtooths program. Of course they are harmonically related, but you can bring inharmonicity using the unison or using the sub-oscillator. So you can get massive tones with just two oscillators. Can we expect hybrid convolutions out of the wave feature? I have no idea what you mean by hybrid convolutions. So you will have to explain me what you want about, like what you're referring to. What percentage confident are you that you will meet the December timeline? Well, I'm 90% confident, or 95%, because the suppliers are prepared, so they are waiting for the down payments, and this will come when the Kickstarter is over and Kickstarter is transferring the money. So basically the design is final, except for the little daughter board that you've seen. They have already received the documents. The housing second iteration, they are asking me like every week, when do we start, when do we start? So there's no modification to be done there anymore, not on the silk, not on the mounting, not so it can go pretty fast. What could happen wrong is if, for example, we get problems with shipping, or if the suppliers delay their planning, but it's not really due to my how's it called, planning. So we'll see, we'll adapt, but don't expect like 3 or 4 months delays, because documents and components are there. Can you do layers, and how does that work with outputs? Yes. So layers, it's very easy. So you have like the 4 parts here, and what you can do is like you go to MIDI configuration, and you can set, like, for example, we are on part 1, it's channel 1. Let's go to part 2, and then let's say like we want part 2 on channel 1 also, and then you have like 2 parts that plays on the same channel. So basically from this you we'll put it back to 2, otherwise we'll waste our voices, and come back to part 1. Is there just hard switch between spectrums, or there will be kind of crossfade? Well, I thought about that, to have like an additional parameter where you can select 2 spectrums and interpolate between them. Maybe there's nothing preventing to do that. I mean, you have a lot of possibility to alterate the spectrum using the tools already there. But having an additional parameter to blend between 2 spectrum, this is not a problem. So I'll see. I'll see if it brings something, or if it's just like fancy and doesn't do much. Okay, so now we have seen like the 2 sources. I would like to go for the modulations now, because otherwise I can speak forever and we don't see much. So I'm coming back to like normal poly mode, sawtooth. Okay, is the color black or dark blue? Well, it's difficult to say. It's a very dark blue, but depending on the light, you will see it black or blue. So when you have direct sunlight, it looks like blue, but now that the sun is getting down and I have mostly like light from the ceiling, it starts to look black. So it's a very dark blue. I can show you closer. But here it looks now black. So it really depends. So, but this is black. The bottom case is black. So you can see the difference here, maybe. Well, if it focuses, yeah. So it's a deep blue, like I would say, a night blue. I don't know. So I go back to the modulations because I want to explain a little bit about the envelope section, because this is like something that people have asked about, and why is it not normal, and why doesn't it work with like an expected IDSR and stuff. So the synth has been designed to be able to quickly make sounds and use it live seamlessly. So it means like when you are playing with your right hands, you're playing some chords, and you want to change sounds rapidly, it's much easier to have this system than having 2 envelopes complete, because then you have to change many parameters at the same time. So like, for example, let's make a complex chord. You want to bring some attack. You want to bring some release. So how does it work? So you have like the three parameters at the bottom here. They are attack, sustain, and release, and they are shared between the two envelopes. So basically you have an envelope for the amplifier. This is what we've heard already. And there is an envelope for the filter. So we'll close the filter and put some. So how do they relate to each other? So if I go to the filter envelope, you will see that right now it's set to be ADSR. So it means like it will use all the parameters like attack, sustain, release, and decay for this envelope. So I'll put less sustain, short decay, for example. But now you will say, okay, that's cool. But if I want to have like a difference in attack from the filter and the amp, how do I do that? So if I now raise the attack, then the attack applies for the filter, but also for the amp. But if you don't want that, you can say, okay, from my amplifier envelope, I want to get rid of the attack. So you have like actually a button here, which is called attack, and a button which is called sustain. And if you remove the attack, you can see it changed to a decay release mode, meaning there's no attack anymore on the amp. Well, but maybe we need to put some sustain. How is it now? Wait, I will pass it on to gate. So then we are, or AR, maybe it is. Well, I'm not too sure right now, so I'll put it into gate. And now what you have is the attack only applies to the filter. And each envelope have separate decays. So if you want to have like some precise articulation, you can still do it, because you get to have like a decay for the amp and a decay for the filter. So I can show you this. I'll go back to my amplifier envelope. I will put it into like, let's back to ADSR. And let's remove sustain, for example. No, let's put sustain. Sorry. Normally. You can hear that now that the decay from the filter and the amplifier are way different. So that's how it works. And the envelope, you can loop them, so you can like do this. So now I have like normally the loop. No, I didn't. And the filter envelope. So this is like what you can do with these envelopes. So In terms of routing, so I wanted to show you that for the filter, for example, you have like a dedicated envelope F control. So you can directly say how much is the influence of the filter envelope. But you have other ways to program modulation. So each modulation module has like what is called a target. So you can say, okay, my filter envelope, I want to use it for something else. So I can select a destination. So like, yeah, there's like the saturation here, the sub-oscillator, the generator, the pitch. So this is very strong, I guess. So let's put it a little bit less. So we hear that because the envelope is still looping, so I can remove the looping. So you hear now like the filter envelope is working on the pitch. To show also is when you specify a target, you can also specify an expressor. So an expressor is an additional parameter that will say how much of the parameter get modulated. So for example, you can set like here pressure, and then depending on how much you press on your keyboard, the influence of the envelope will be more or less important on the target. I can like use, for example, like the pitch bend or random value or the sustain pedal, the modulator. I am with a key step, so I cannot play right now with the aftertouch, but you get the idea. So, and you will say, okay, this is just one destination, so if I want to use my envelope for more, so in addition to the predefined routings plus the target system, you have a modulation matrix, and then you can go and say like, okay, I want to use my slot number 1 and use my envelope F, and then you have the exact same thing. You have target and expressor, and in the addition also specify an amount here. So then you have like 3 ways to make like modulation from one module, so it's not just limited to one target. So envelopes, I think we have seen it all. Yeah, you can also select right now the influence of the velocity on the attack and decay parameters. So if you want to make it something more expressive and you have a good keyboard, you can actually adjust the times using velocity, so it's nice to add some variations. I'm looking at your the chat. At the super booth, you talked about the tunable resonator. Yeah, it's still there. So well, I can go for that. So let's make a simpler sound, more percussive maybe. It's where the delay is. So you can change the delay to be like not tiny, but calm. And then wait for it. I am not hearing it. Ah, it's So here you have it. So there will be options to tune it to specific pitch. Right now it is on specific pitch, but it's just written like with a number, it's not the best. But you see it's there. I didn't forget about that. Modulation, LFOs. So you have like 3 LFOs. I must specify something which is not so easy to understand. There are modulation sources which are per voices, and some modulation sources which are per part. LFO1 and LFO2 are per part, and LFOF, the one which is usually assigned to the filter, is per voice, and the envelopes of course are per voices. So that means when you're programming LFO1 and LFO2, they will have the same all the voices, so you can call it like synchronized modulation or whatsoever, but it means like if you're playing a chord or sequences, all the notes will vary along the same way. So if you want to have differences, you have to use like the LFOF, or you have to make some operation through the modulation matrix so that you give a difference if you're using the LFO1 or LFO2. So how does it work? Well, let's use the LFOF. So close the filter a bit. And I'll go to LFOF, so you get like frequency, of course. Wait for it. Put it a bit louder. In terms of shapes, you have plenty. So triangle, sawtooth, up, down, pulse, this thing, and then you have like also sample and hold, so pure noise or smooth noise, so you have different smoothness. And they can go quite fast. What I wanted to show also is the LFOs, they have a system where you can combine waveforms. So let's say you want to have like first a sinus, and then you want to have like a pulse. You can do that. Well, let's make something more obvious. can make like small sequences like this by combining different waveforms. Something like this. It's just like using the LFO double, how I can say, like double waveform thing. You can also like set the start phase if you wanted to have it like free running, or start from a specific like all synchronized zeros. It's working with the DAW because like you can have like a repetitive thing and make sure that everything starts at the right time. So that you can set. Same as with the envelopes, you have a target. So you can say like here, for example, you have noise level. We can use that actually. So you just need to say how much and make the noise enable. I think it's a good time also to see like the noise oscillator. So the noise oscillator, so remove the modulation of the filter, open the thing up, and maybe like disable all the oscillators. Wait for it. So to disable the oscillators, you have different way. You can like set no waveform. So here. Or you can set the volume to 0. This is also a possibility. The advantage is when you are like disabling the waveforms, it sets to the engine like this is not used, and this frees up more polyphony. So we'll remove a bit the reverb and the delay too. So now we have our LFO on the noise. Right. Correct, yes. The noise, you have different options. You can change the sample and all to it. So this is getting very cracky. And you have a filter also, dedicated. So here it's like completely high pass. And you can combine. So this is, for example, a good thing to use with like the comp filter, because like you can make it resonate. So I can like just check this out. Use like the comp filter. I don't hear very much. I'm not so sure that this is very loud now. Yeah, that was because of the filter. This is in stereo now. So I think there are possibilities here, but it needs to be explored, to be honest. And about the presets, of course, so when the engine is completely stabilized, I will send, like I have a couple of machines here to some designers, and they will work on the banks, on the preset banks, because it's very difficult to start with a machine like this without any presets. So you have to have a clear idea where you want to go, and sometimes it's easier to start from like basic sounds, but these people, they have to like get to know the machine and then start to explore. I have a list of directions where I want them to go. I will also do a little bit of presets myself. And of course, the machine will have like about 150 presets, factory sounds in different areas, like at least synthwave, 80s, trance, maybe industrial if Benoit wants to do it, so that you can already have a palette. And the machine is very flexible, so you can do pretty much what you want. Of course, it doesn't do physical modeling, it doesn't do samples, but with the synthesis options, you already have a lot. Could this noise filter thing also be applied to the waves? Well, the noise has only one like crossover filter, like it's a high pass, low pass. It's good to collard, I think, but if you really want to like work on the waves, I think it's better to use like the filter section. So I'll restart with some like default thing. Let's make it a little bit drier. So now we are back with like sort of filter. So filter, by default you have a low pass. I'm back. This is what I said by improvised live stream. I had to change the battery. Am I back? Yeah, maybe the camera did the color balance again. I don't know. Could be. So where I was, like, filter. Yeah, I wanted to say, if you wanted to make it more characterful, you can always use the saturation module. So let's put a sequence. Like, I put this note on the cable, so it's flat. So how do we do that? So this is like the tube model. I can change to something a bit more brutal. It's not that more brutal. And now we can go to bit crush. This is like very over the top. So let's keep with like first for now. So I change the filter mode. Low pass. High pass. And low pass 4. So more or less, I guess you have seen what kind of filter you have. The filter section, we have an extra filter. So this is like a 2-pole or 4-pole filter. So it means 12 dB per octave reduction or 24 dB. But you can always add a second filter. So I show you. It's here. So it's by default it's not on, but you can like let's launch the sequence again. So that you can damp the upper harmonics, or if you want to have no lows, you can also have this high pass and still have this filter running. Yeah, that's it for the filters and the distortion module, I guess. Last thing we haven't seen together is this is like related to the multi-part stuff, but you can also use it for your preset, is you have 2 EQs. So right now you can just select which type you have, like low cut, high cut, shelf or boost. I will do small pictures like I've done for the filters and stuff, because I guess it's more easy to like relate to it very quickly. And you can use this like to mix your parts, like for example by default set to like low cut, high cut. So if I run the sequence again, I can remove the lows completely, or I can remove the highs, keep the lows, and you can can also do some low boost if you want. So this is really useful when you are like doing multi-track well, songs or tracks. Like for example, when I did this like demo trance, well, it's not very trance, but the demo song I put on SoundCloud, I use this a lot to like balance the parts, things you would do normally with your DAW. But if you're doing just a live set with this machine and another one, it's very handy to have like a couple of EQs to adjust the parts together. So you can place them well in the mix. So you have the master reverb, this you have seen. So you get it access here. You can say how much you send to the reverb. So this like helps you to place the part within the front and back of your track. But with the EQs, you can really say, and this is also something really cool when you have like a arpeggio sequence that goes in two different directions with modulations and whatsoever, or a lot of resonance. You can really bound it and say like, okay, this arpeggios goes like in all directions, but it stays in a high, and my bass is still there and will not move, and that's really cool. Do pods transmit MIDI? Yes and no. Meaning when you go to the setup, you can actually say if you want to receive and transmit CC. Because for example on the Terreux there's a problem where people are getting MIDI feedback loops and then it doesn't behave. So you can say like, okay, transmit on, or you can say transmit off, and it only receives. But you can also receive and I only transmit, and then you can record your automations like changing the cutoff and stuff and have the MIDI message in the DAW, no problem. MIDI CC capabilities, well, pretty much everything. There's only one problem, is the Sun Engine has like right now 135 parameters or something, so you can't map everything. Most of the parameter will be MIDI CC. They are all smoothed. So if you do like automations, you won't hear like stepping. So even if like MIDI resolution is quite low, internally it's smoothed. So you can draw envelopes in Ableton or Fruity Loops or whatever, and you will have like nice modulations. But not all parameters will be accessible because like you don't have enough CCs, but you will have like all the basics. Saturation, balance, spectrum, format, stuff like that, but maybe you won't have like a control on the type of envelope you want to have through CCs or things like that. The list has started. Maybe I can publish it soon on Kickstarter. I'm happy to get some suggestions for changes. I know sometimes it's a problem with some controllers because of compatibilities issues, like for example with the key step, it has tendency to send CCs when you press start, stop and stuff, and you can disable it in the control center from the key step, but I know that there are a couple of controllers that are sending random CCs and it's difficult to know which one you can actually use or not, and it doesn't make any problem with people's setup. And I don't want to make like a mapping programmable on the screen because it would be nightmare to like have like maybe 80 parameters and select for each of these like which CC you want to have. I think this is much too complicated. Worst case, you can disable the CC input. Best case, you have a controller where you can actually map and say what you want, and then you have access of most of the parameters from the synthesizer through CC. And if not, I probably will put the NRPM, but the NRPM, from my experience, people don't use it much, so I don't know. I mean, is it worth to do it? Everything is digital on the Manatee. You can have a look. The main board. So basically it's a DSP synth. So you have power supply, MIDI, DSP, storage, RAM, DAX, line drivers, and the rest is like purely digital. Pause for the interface. Below like the second DSP board that goes, and yeah, it's very simple, very robust. All parts are metallic, very good quality. They are like screwed on the panel. You can see that are also very good. They are like 1 million cycles switches. Yeah, you can't go wrong with this. And well, connectors is Neutrik. Here, well, Rain. Yeah, what to say? It's basic but solid, very solid. I'm quite sure this you can like keep it for a long time. For example, if you have like a problem with a display, well, you can still change it. Just have to desolder this and replace the module. Yeah, and for repairs, like it's quite easy to service. Basically, if you want to replace a part or whatsoever, you just get your soldering iron and you remove it and you put another one. These are like standard format 9mm spots, so basically you can get replacements, no problem. Yeah, red LED is you see it well in the dark, and display has very high contrast, so I'm not sure you can see it, but you can turn it in many angles and you will see that it's always visible. It's not like this old school, well, here it's maybe too bright to see it, but it has a very high contrast actually, so you can see it in really well. I can also adjust it here. Maybe it's even better like this. No, it's worse. It's difficult to see with the camera actually. Backlight, you can switch it off, or you can put it like low or like strong. Well, it's actually better in low with the camera. And off, you can like the contrast is like really high. What I've not talked about is like connectivity, but I think you have seen it. Power, MIDI in, out, and through. Here you have input, so you can like synchronize the LFOs, delay, arpeggiator. So the arpeggiator is very simple. I didn't show you, but it's here. You can like select different modes, different pattern, how many octaves, how does it cycle. Stereo out for headphones, and you have like 2 buses. This I will explain because there was like about it. Basically, there are 2 stereo buses, so by default all the audio goes out on main, but this you can change in the mixer. So you can say like, okay, for my part, I want to have like 100% on the master, but you can also say I want this part to go to aux, and then it's like 100% on the aux. But this is when you use them as stereo buses. There's also another mode in the system where you can say, okay, these are stereo buses, and I want my part 1 to be exclusively on aux left and my part 2 on aux right or whatsoever. So you can basically use the 4 parts, well, the 4 outputs as individual outs for the part. But when you do this, of course you lose the stereo because these are mono jacks. So you have to say, or you use like these 2 stereo buses, and then you can say like, okay, this one goes to an external effect, this one are dry. There's also one specificity about the aux bus. It's like an insert return bus. So basically if you use like a Y cable and you connect it to a multi-effect or whatsoever, the return will be mixed with the main part. So let's say you put a reverb module there with a Y cable, so both of them, like right and left, you can say like I send my part to aux, and basically with the return it will be mixed back to main. So you don't need any mixing desk, and you can use the aux bus as external effect bus. So if you don't want to use, for example, the internal reverb, or if you have some crazy, like let's say a Strymon or a microcosm effect that you want to integrate, and you don't want to go through the hoops of having like a mixing desk or something to connect, you can just attach the multi-effects to aux with Y cables. Yeah, retro display. The advantage of this LED display is the backlight not gonna die, or at least not in the 5-6 years. It will dim down a bit of luminosity, but you can basically use the machine like maybe in 20 years without any replacement. OLED is a bit different because they have the tendency to mark. So you can see it on machines which are not too old already. You will see that like the main text or the main display you have is like burned on the display. And there are so many like different manufacturers of OLEDs, formats, and connectors and so, that it's not so easy to find parts to replace if your OLED display get like not in a condition where you can read it anymore. And I'm not so sure that's a good long-term choice. We will see on the machines which are right now on the market. Maybe they have chosen manufacturers that have long-term support or displays with like a standard connector. But I'm personally not sure of that, and since I want to support my machine for a long time, I prefer to use like a classic LCD that I know that this has been manufactured for like 40 years. Not this technology for the contrast format of the display and the connector, so I'm quite sure you can actually change it. And I have seen actually some OLED displays which use the same connector and is the same for space. So maybe someone can put like a instead of this. Maybe I will find for production of attaching which is not soldered, so someone can swap the display. I have to think about that because right now you have this adapter which connects the display like this, but maybe I find a way to like clips it and then someone can swap the display very easy. I don't know. But at least you can be sure that this will work and will work for a long time. And for me, what's important is not to have much support with the machine because like I'm here alone like most of the time, and I will kindly service all machines, but it's better that they just last and people like keep their thing for a long time and give it to their children or sell it online. I mean, hi Thomas. On Kindle, they are not like this e-ink display, or maybe there was before the Kindle Fire or something. I don't know. But the e-ink displays are also very good. The only problem is they don't work in the dark because they have no backlight, so far I know. Hi. Go over the custom LFOs yet. That was the thing where you can like combine different waveforms. So for now, two of them. Maybe I will have to add the possibilities to combine more because there's no software or performance issue there. But for now, I put two because like I thought it was simple to like operate. And now that I see it, I didn't talk about it, but each LFO has also like an envelope. So you can like actually have the LFO starting at 0 and then raise in amplitude and then fall with release to have like some kind of control on the amplitude of the LFO. And this is independent from the other So it's another possibility to change the content of the modulation. I would be my cat because he's doing nothing, getting food, and can sleep all the day. I think that's the best. Hi. So, guys, do you have any questions about the machine, the project, or the Kickstarter in general? I mean, questions that I can answer. Yeah, there's an arpeggiator in, yeah, but there's an arpeggiator. The power is around jack. Yeah, it's normal DC jack. You can put 12 volts. Works also with 9 volts. I'm reading the chat now. It's about like additive sounds. Yeah, I mean, spectrum synthesis is like a very large term. There are different implementations. The one I've done here is like this spectrum harmonics arrangement, and then you can manipulate and render it to waveforms is like one of a kind. There are different options, but I think it works pretty well on this machine. Santa Leg Opus connector. Well, it's written here. It's center positive and outside negative. Maybe I can try to make like just a small pad using like the spectrum generator. Let's do that. Just put the machine not on the cable because it will move all the time. Let's do some music for a change. Yeah, it's totally random, but well. Tu as une synchro clock qui me sort. Je vais répondre en français. Oui, on peut démarrer et synchroniser l'arpégiateur avec l'entrée clock. Ça peut se faire aussi au travers du MIDI. No, the filters, they are one after the other. So if you want to do this kind of configuration, you can do it with a layer. So basically you use two parts. You put one part with only the sub, the other part with only the spectrum generator, and then you can like associate the filters how you want. But within a patch, no, this is not as flexible. What I wanted to do is to keep the machine simple, because you have already seen there's like a lot of modules already, plenty of depth, and I didn't wanted this to be like a machine with like 300 parameters. I spent actually a month and a half like to reduce the specification to be able to do it with like not too many parameters, because then it confuses the user and it makes the workflow very complicated. And then people come to say like, where's the editor? How can I configure complicated things? And well, with this sort of limitations, you can really go far. So I'm not yet so confident to show you like all the. I haven't studied the thing completely, but in a couple of months, when the presets will be done and we will have like the time to explore all the possibilities offered with the combination of modules, I'm quite sure we'll get out some sounds that you didn't imagine you could do with this, and just by configuring the right modules and using the right effects and stuff. Yeah, you're welcome. Can the two filter serial and parallel? Well, actually, this I could do. I have to think how to propose a configuration that does it in a way that it's simple. Maybe it's just like serial or parallel that I could do. Right now, also, I will offer an option to say if the filters are linked, because now the second filter is fixed, and I think I should provide the possibility to have it tracking the pitch, tracking the cutoff, tracking both, or like independent and fixed like it is right now. So this would offer a lot of possibilities. Track the cutoff, then you can have like a 30 dB per octave like filter, and that would be a very, very strong slope. It can be useful sometimes, not always, but yeah. So to sell my Verus TI. Well, you have more options with the Verus TI, to be honest, but it's not in the same price range, and it's also not the same size. Like here we are talking about something which is like a little bit longer than my hand. Verus TI is like doesn't fit in the camera yet. I can show you like the difference. I have the Verus here. I will have to dezoom. So this is like the key step for comparison. And this is an original virus. So that's the size difference. You can see it. Well, I can show you that. So I start with a presets or default sound. Well, it says error for now because all the thing is empty. There's no CRC, so that's the reason why it says error. So let's take a sawtooth, and you have here a way to say like, okay, presets. To have some kind of vibrato. I'm not sure if this is what you want, but then it will drift a bit. So maybe this is too obvious. But you can do it like this. So do you have any other questions about the machine? Or should we call it a day? Yeah, sure, but in December, not before. Yeah, thank you. I will make like a, how's it called, a release party where people can just like pick up the things. Like I prepare the packets and you... Actually it's better because it avoids the risk with DHL, so I'm okay with it. I can't really open a physical store though, because this is like a different declarations and stuff. Yes, there's still the comp filter. I show it before in the video, it's in the delay sections. Ja, genau. Ich habe das gemacht mit den Studenten von Uni Bonn. Wir hatten ein Seminar hier, aber die Platz ist nicht so groß. The knobs are a nylon one. It's the same I use on the other machine. They don't look so fancy, but they have the advantage as being in nylon, they don't deteriorate so easy. So it's not like this soft plastic which melt down after some years because like the consistency of the plastic changes. So they are quite robust. It's not fancy, but robust. Same you have on mutable instrument gear. Yeah, thank you for coming. Yes, CFAM, exactly this. And they are original one. No copies. Yeah, thank you very much. So if you have more questions or more specific things that it's difficult to answer there, email or comment on Kickstarter. Try to answer as fast as I can. À la prochaine. Well, you've seen like the public for this is not that large, so I can directly communicate with the musicians because I'm not in a situation where I need to have like so many employees and support and so your machine does not behave like you want, or if you want a quick explanation on something, it's different use and different setups. So I understand this. Didn't want to grab too much time on the half. Is it adapted to percussive tone? Well, we can try. Just put in it again. Remove like the reverb. A bit louder. Yeah, very fast now, basically. Yeah, one would need to try seriously. Well, I guess you can do it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm also tired, to be honest. So I guess I will close the streaming now. I hope you have seen enough the machine. I will do another one where it would be more organized and at different timing for people which are in America. Not the best time for everybody. But I hope you get the idea of the machine. You see that most of it is working. Of course, like there are still software like to implement some MIDI stuff like the MPE for the Toureux, so I have a clear idea how to do it on this. Unfortunately, apparently from the users which are using a Lean instrument and Rolly thing, it works quite well with the last revision of the Toureux software, so I'm very happy about that. And I think MPE is like a really good thing. So this will be in. A couple of stuff like the organization of the presets in banks, so to make it easy for the selection and to separate like the factory presets and the thing that you can program. This has to be done. A couple of things like this. The communication with the second board, second DSP, it's working, but for now the updates between the two processors are not working, is not working, so I have to fix that. But it's like most of the important features are there, and well, I have to tidy up some UI glitches. So far we didn't get into any, so it's not too bad actually. Yeah, I'm quite sure with good sound design and time spent with the machine, well, to learn its specificities and how it works, and the area where you can go with can get like pretty wild sounds. Yeah, thank you guys.